Hi, this is Shauna, and I want to welcome you to Living in This Space. Real talk, because hey, we're all just living in this space we call life, right? It's messy, it's hard, and sometimes it's the most joyous thing we can experience. I want you, my listener, to have a place where the conversation is real and honest. I hope we can spend this time together, validating, sharing, and experiencing all the feels together with whatever topic is on the agenda for the day. Let's dive in. Hi, and welcome back. I am honored today to talk to you about a pretty tough topic, and I titled this episode, Are You Struggling? A few days ago, my daughter asked me what my podcast was going to be about this week, because usually I have a topic or I've already got it done. And I told her I had no idea. I was in such a funk and a shadowy place that I honestly hadn't even begun to think about a topic for this week. And she thought about it for a minute and she said, Mom, maybe you need to talk about that then. And she reminded me that this is all about living in this space and being real and honest with each other, right? So here we go. I'm going to start this episode off by sharing with you, it's been a really tough couple of weeks. You know, life is a beautiful gift, but sometimes it can be so freaking hard, emotionally and physically. And, you know, if you can put a word on a feeling that's anything less than happy, then you can probably lump it into the life can be hard category. Well, today I want to talk to you about my journey with depression. And I'm going to weave in a little bit about my battle with ADHD, which for me was newly diagnosed, but something I've struggled with my entire life. But if you suffer from depression, whether it is seasonal or short-lived, or maybe for you it's chronic, something you deal with on the daily, I want to ask you, what does depression look like to you? Is it the blues? Feeling emotionally empty, maybe? Maybe it looks like total chaos. How about sleeping for extended chunks of time? Or maybe you're finding yourself in a self-imposed isolation. It could be any inappropriate behavior or needless shopping for that matter. I mean, I could go on and on. There are so many symptoms and places that we can find ourselves in when depression seeps into our lives. And you know, different types of depression look differently, and they need to be diagnosed by, a physician or a licensed therapist. I hesitate to talk about any of this today, to be honest with you, because no, I am in no way qualified to speak with formal training of any kind on this topic. But let me tell you what I do have. I do have a deep compassion for you if you're struggling, because I too have walked and am still walking this often dark and tough to understand journey. We've been given a lot of visual messages through advertising over the years as to what depression is supposed to look like. I mean, let's just talk about the commercials for antidepressants for a second. We see someone who's not living their best life to its fullest, or, to any degree of, I don't know the right word I'm looking for, to any degree of productivity. They're not engaging in activities. They're looking sad. They're turning down invitations. Well, let's skip forward to their message of medications. And when we start to look at that, we see a completely different visual. We see a much happier person, right? They're smiling, engaging, shopping for flowers or golfing. They're visiting their friends and they're gardening. And they're just living life with so much apparent joy at that point. Guys, is it really that easy? Just pop a pill and the world is suddenly brighter? Well, I guess for some people it might be the absolute perfect answer. Maybe all you need is a boost. And something like that will help to increase those chemicals called neurotransmitters in your brain. And when you find the right fit, it's such a feeling of relief, right? I love that. But what if you can't take meds or tolerate them well for one reason or another? What do you do then? Well, before we dive too deep, let's remember that depression is something not to be taken lightly or ignored. Please hear me here, especially if it is seriously affecting your day-to-day living. I want you to seek help if you feel you may be battling some form of depression or anxiety before anything starts to snowball on you. Over the years, I've hopped from one thing to another, not really ever finding the right long-term fit. And to be honest with you, I don't know if there is a long-term fit for most people. But looking back now, I think it's partly due to also not having ever talked to anybody about my concerns that I might have some type of attention deficit going on. I've never really known what the true issue is. Well, that's a topic for another podcast. I'd love to dive into what living with a later diagnosis of ADHD looks like. And I would like to talk to somebody about that as well on my podcast. But I'm going to digress here because we're not here today to talk about that. But actually putting a diagnosis on something that you've always felt was just your inability to stay on task, to stay organized, or maybe it's your fear of not being smart enough or satisfied with most anything you have or do. That's such a relief. So we're going to table that one, but definitely leave it in the books for a later topic. But let's get back to the depression. We're talking about different things that might work if medications aren't your thing. Well, talk therapy might be a really good option. And it's most likely also a much needed addition to any meds you might be currently taking. Nutritional supplements may work for some, but not others. Creating a routine or habit into one's day may be helpful. Also, here's a big one. Gaining control of healthy eating habits and daily exercise of some kind. Let's for sure, all of us, get this one under control if it's out of control. An unhealthy lifestyle can lead to all kinds of other issues that will only stack on top of your depression and anxiety, making it a much bigger battle to fight. There are so many options out there, my friends, and finding the right fit is a process. I want to encourage you today to keep looking. If you're in a place of feeling like I haven't found the right fit yet, I want to encourage you and let you know that's where I am today. I haven't really got a good fit yet. And now we have this new thing with ADD piled on top of it. So over the years, I'm going to share with you, I've taken a few of the more common antidepressants and anxiety meds. And over the years, I've resisted continuing them for one reason or another. Sometimes it's been an unpleasant side effect, or other times it's just been my pride getting in the way of, not wanting to have to depend on a pill. As I've shared with you on earlier podcasts, I have a highly addictive personality. Did you know that addictive tendencies can run in families? It's really strong on my dad's side, so I'm sure that it's kind of trickled down through the generations. And over the years, I've been able to give myself a measure of grace just by knowing that my DNA may be at play here. It's not just something emotional. So knowing this about myself, about the addictive personality, I can't help but remember this song by Jefferson Airplane. And those of you who are old enough will remember this one called White Rabbit. And those opening lines, one pill makes you stronger and one pill makes you small. Does that sound familiar for those of you who've been chasing a fix for your depression? For me personally, it always feels like I'm chasing some kind of a fix when I bounce from one thing to another. I've learned over the years that my body acclimates far too quickly to most drugs. So this chasing part becomes very real for me. And some of you out there, I would imagine, are in a similar position. In the past, and even most recently, if a particular medicine needs to be increased to continue its benefits, I start to cross that line of thinking, this is never going to be enough. And I find myself really good at that point of finding excuses to go off of that medication and try something new yet again. So I'm just trying to be honest with you today, because I know that some of you out there are battling these exact same feelings and issues. And you're trying to convince yourself that you can handle this on your own. Or maybe you're sitting there frustrated because you haven't found the right fit yet and you're ready to just give up. Keep looking. Please keep looking. That's what I'm doing. I'm researching. I'm talking to my practitioner and therapist. I'm trying a holistic approach yet again, but this time I'm not ruling out the idea of finding a prescription that might be a good fit for me. Sometimes it's like a puzzle. You try this piece, and if it doesn't, you pick up another. Is it okay to keep searching? Absolutely. Most anything within a safe arena that you can find that will help you gain control of your mental health, in my opinion, is okay. Now, in big, bold capital letters with exclamations at the end of it. Did you hear me say most anything? I want you to hear me loud and clear here. I am in no way advocating taking illegal drugs or abusing legal drugs for that matter. When I say most anything, what I am advocating for you to do is to talk to a professional, do your research, ask your primary care physician or therapist. And if you're struggling with your meds and are in a desperate place to find an alternative, then be honest with them about these feelings. Tell them how you feel. Don't be afraid to tell your family practitioner, I don't want to take a drug anymore. Can you help me with something alternative? And if you can't, can you lead me to someone who can? My primary care nurse practitioner is the best. And her and my therapist both know that I am very conscious of my addictive tendencies. I'm honest with them about that. So when I ask my nurse practitioner for something, she knows that I'm not going to abuse it. Maybe it's a Xanax that she knows she can give me a prescription for because of a severe anxiety attack. She knows I'm not going to abuse that drug. And, if you're in the place where you're afraid you would, and you feel like you can't walk that line with yourself with a medication that could lead to some addictive tendencies, be honest with your provider and ask them to help you. Ask them to help you stay in line by doing a monthly med check. This is where you'll bring your bottle of pills in for a pill count. Now, I know that sounds extreme, but this is actually something that some practitioners will ask you to agree with when they're prescribing an addictive drug. My nurse practitioner does this. So I hope if you're listening out there and you're struggling with any addictive tendencies, and we went down a little bit of a rabbit hole with this one, I'm sorry, but if you're struggling there, I want you to find the courage to be brutally honest with yourself about it, to be honest with your doctor and your therapist if you see one. For many years, I was in denial about this, and I want to tell you something I've learned. I've learned that my depression and my addictive tendencies are actually really good friends with each other, and they walk hand in hand in my life personally. So recognizing this has been incredibly liberating for me. And while it takes many drugs off the table for me, because I know if I start them, they may be drugs that are hard to come off of if I need to, I've asked for help. I know the risk is high, and I've asked for help. It also prompts me to seek other forms of help like therapy, lifestyle changes, being more holistic in my approach, meditative time alone, and just being very, very aware of my feelings. I've also learned to educate myself on any medication I might be taking. And, I've even asked, is this appropriate for me? Or what about this one? So anyway, I would love for you to dig into all of that if you're not already. And then let's start this journey to healing by being honest with ourselves, by journaling our feelings, working on gaining control of our physical health, talking to the professionals, and exploring what a healthy mind and body could look like for us. Visualize your life as a healthier you. Dream about that and think about what it would look like. Talk to your therapist or primary care provider about what you want to see in your own healing process, both physically and emotionally. For each of us, this is going to be different. Please don't compare your emotional journey to someone else's. Find your place in all of this and move forward. Remember, healing doesn't usually look linear. It is full of hills and valleys. There will be roundabouts and straight paths. And there's also going to be times of darkness and light. The goal, my friends, is to keep moving forward. I heard this a while back, and I think it's applicable for right now. When you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them, and you remain restricted by them. So instead of arguing for your limitations, be your biggest advocate. Be proactive and fight for you. I so hope that you have heard something of value today. And while I am in no way qualified to give you professional advice or counsel, I am totally here for you as a transparent, totally honest friend of yours. I want my journey to mean something. And I know that a lot of you probably feel the same. I want to ask you one last question. What value is a life lesson learned if we don't use it in some way, either to help others or to move forward in our own life in a more productive way? So, my friends, until next time, please be encouraged. You are not alone in this journey. Hey, thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit follow wherever you get your podcast. And until next time, I hope you live in your space well, my friends.